There's long been a question as to why we take intense pleasure in literary tragedy. Not referring now to what one calls the schadenfreude, the strange delight that some seem to take. I speak now particularly of tragedy as a literary genre. Why, with all of its pain, its bleakness, do we delight in it? Aristotle thought that our pleasure in drama was associated profoundly with the intellectual insight which recognizes structures to human experience. The basic pleasure of the intellect, as Aristotle thought of it, was essentially a taxonomic one in which observing we're able to say, oh, that's a this. And the intellect is fulfilled in the act of insight. And as we move through the complexities of a plot to a reversal of fortune, to a recognition on the part of a hero and our own recognition as to the nature of that structure of experience, we find a fulfillment both in the refining of our emotions and in our intellectual insight. In Hamlet, that melancholy Dane, who was a sweet prince, not, it would appear, melancholy by nature, but made melancholy by the hideous double agenda which the previous generation put on him, that of revenging his father, which he felt compelled to do, and then murdering his uncle, and somehow responding to his mother, who's married that uncle who murdered his father. He finds himself caught in two urgencies, and his thought recoiling back on itself. But there come players to Elsinore, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, his college friends, set to observe him, are asked by the king about Hamlet's disposition. And Guildenstern responds, "We do not find him forward to be sounded, but with a crafty madness keeps aloof when we would bring on him to some confession of his true state." And the queen, "Did you essay him to any pastime?" And now Rosencrantz answer, "Madam, it so fell out that certain players we o'erwrought on the way. Of these we told him, and there did seem in him a kind of joy to hear of it." It's the one point in the play where we hear of Hamlet's being in a kind of joy. And that seems constructed out of his memories of enjoyment of drama. The passage which he seems most to have enjoyed is one indeed of horror, borrowed from Virgil, of the fall of Troy and the death of Priam and Hecuba. But somehow, in the fixing of that horror in words, one gains the power to look at our own times, our own actions, to come to respond and understand without fully being destroyed by the horror that's there. We respond emotionally. We understand intellectually. And as that is vouchsafed to us in drama, it did raise in him, as it raises in us, a kind of joy.